Hello, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Heidi Senior. I'm a reference and instruction librarian at University of Portland in Oregon, and I'm the moderator for this session titled Assumptions versus Evidence, How Students Actually Use Generative AI and What Libraries Can Do About It. Yeah. Before we begin, I have a few reminders. We have a code of conduct that we will adhere to for this conference. In a moment, I will post a link to the code of conduct in the chat. And if you experience any issues related to conduct, please contact the conference organizers via the email address, which I will also post in the chat. Please make sure your microphone is muted. And unless there's an urgent need for clarification, I'm going to hold questions until the Q&A. During the Q&A, please wait until you are invited to unmute before asking your question or making your comment. You may also use chat or the anonymous Q&A portal for questions. This session is being recorded and live streamed, and you can enable captions by clicking on the Show Captions button at the bottom of the screen. So it is my pleasure to introduce Shreya Biswas and Jenna Patera. Shreya Biswas, pronouns she, her, is an incoming PhD student in the Human Development and Family Sciences program at the University of Delaware. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience and Political Science from Union College, New York. She has over 4 years of interdisciplinary research experience across cognitive neuroscience, human AI interaction, health disparities, neuropolitics, and computational science, which have strengthened her analytical and research skills. Jenna Patera, she, her, is the instruction librarian at Union College's Schaffer Library. In that role, she focuses on information literacy and research instruction. She holds a master's in library and information science with a focus on academic library instruction from the University of Rhode Island. Her research and writing focuses on information literacy, gamification, and engaging students in one-shot instruction sessions. Please join me in welcoming Shreya and Jenna.
Thank you so much, Heidi. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Um, Shreya and I began this work together as an independent study. Shreya came to me and said that she had ideas about kind of investigating AI use and how students are using AI on campus. And I was really interested in this work at the intersection of information literacy and also what I was seeing in classrooms. Um, so before we even begin talking about our research study, I want to know, how do you think that students use AI? So go ahead and head to menti.com and put in code 59210140. And in a minute, I'm going to put up the Mentimeter, and you can just anonymously tell me in as many words or as few words as you like, how do you think students are using AI on your campus? So hopefully this will work the way I want it to. So here's our Mentimeter. Okay, this is really interesting. So for finding sources, that's something I see a lot, is using it to try to find sources. And we know that that's a heavy topic. To cheat is another thing that I'm seeing, or for research. Someone just said routinely, which is very interesting, making it just a part of their daily process. Folks said writing papers, to refine their research topic is another one. Um, Sorry, it doesn't want me to scroll when I'm sharing. But as a first step when searching, that is an interesting one. Um, Brainstorming. So let me see. Yeah, it definitely doesn't want me to, getting lots of great responses here though. Let me see if I can move it over here to see the rest of them. I'm just going to stop sharing for just a second while I get this moved. Something is up with my computer. That's okay. We're going to share again and we'll go back to our session. So, oh, here we go. Let's try doing it like this. Does that let me scroll? It does not. Okay, that's okay. Share desktop too. Okay, so this is really interesting because what we were finding on our campus is that there was a lot of very varied assumptions by our faculty about how students use AI. And who we were not actually asking were our students. And Shreya and I had a lot of discussions about how to develop a research question around this idea. Faculty make a lot of assumptions, is where we started with, and they're changing their teaching to adapt to these assumed uses. But they don't actually know what the student uses are. At one point, Shreya and I were in discussion, and Shreya mentioned that English wasn't the language that she spoke at home. And though she is a completely fluent English speaker, sometimes AI can help her to better understand and incorporate the information of class, because doing that in your head, immediate translation, can be really difficult. And so we thought, she's probably not alone. And so we ended with our final research question was, is AI being used to help synthesize material for English speakers who don't necessarily have seamless translation skills? Now, because of our actual number of students who completed our survey, this ended up being a bit of a niche research question, but I'm going to hand over to Shreya to actually discuss how this research went.
Okay, so I'm going to start off as to why this research is important, firstly. So AI makes language learning more accessible and interactive and also very flexible. So it provides learners with personalized instruction, instant feedback, and opportunities for practice at any time, which is very valuable for someone who is trying to learn a language, any language, not just English. So there are also certain AI-powered tools that can adapt lessons to individual skill level. So someone who's at skill level 1 is obviously not going to have the same needs as someone who's at skill level 4. So this basically helps students to progress at their own pace while targeting areas that need improvement. So there are in many AI-powered language tools, there are features such as speech recognition, real-time translation, and conversational chatbots that allow learners to engage actively with the language, setting realistic goals and improve both their comprehension and communication skills. So moving on to our participants. So our participant pool consisted of Union College students only. So they represented all years, so from freshman to senior year. And most of our participants, as you can see, considered English to be their native language, which basically means that they're fluent with all aspects of it. We also had a small number of students who rated their proficiency as advanced, which basically means that they had a really good working grasp of the language. And then lastly, we also had a few people who did not have a great grasp of language than the majority of the participants. So moving on to our survey, so we gave the participants a Qualtrics survey. The survey consisted of questions that tried to understand their personal background and upbringing, their grasp of the English language. We also asked questions that were aimed at understanding how many languages they spoke, if English was one of them. And also our questions sought to understand that if the participants considered English to be their native language, or was it just like one of the languages that they spoke at home with the other languages? Then we also had questions about their AI usage and what they used AI for in the if they used it only in the classroom or if they used it outside of the classroom, and why they used it, for what part, what assignments did they used it, not necessarily students for using AI for the same assignments. Well, did they use it for more STEM classes or for more humanities classes or writing classes? So that was a major factor in our survey. And we also had some questions about AI's impact on their education. Yeah. So for data analysis, this was a mixed method study. So we had both quantitative and qualitative methods. So for quantitative data analysis, we summarized the data using descriptive statistics to understand the overall trends in the sample. We also compared different cohorts to see whether responses varied across groups and examined behavioral associations to see whether certain student characteristics or behaviors were related to patterns in AI use. Moving on to qualitative analysis, we followed this framework, which is a really popular qualitative framework in human AI interaction. So participant responses, so since we had some open-ended questions, qualitative data analysis was the best way to go. So participant responses were organized into 6 main themes: homework, brainstorming, improved work, no usage, reliability, and efficiency. So these themes helped us better understand how participants use the tool, the benefits they experienced, the reasons some did not use it, why they were against it, their perceptions of its reliability and efficiency in supporting the work. Okay, so moving on to the results now, results of this mixed method study. So for the first, we asked how often students might use AI for their work, and we found that at Union College, that AI is used widespread. So out of the 141 respondents, 83% of them reported using AI tools for academic purposes, meaning only a very small proportion of the students reported never using AI. And looking more closely at the frequency of use, the most common response was sometimes. So this suggests that students are generally incorporating AI as an occasional support tool rather than completely relying on it as a replacement for their own work. I mean, that's what they report. Now, how true it is, we don't really know. So, so we also examined whether AI use varied by language background, and as most of our sample was native English speakers, which represent the majority of our respondents. So most of them report using AI. And although the non-native speaker group was much smaller, the adoption of AI was still very high in that group too. So at Union College, we have a lovely writing center. Of course, I'm biased because I used to work there as an undergrad. I loved it. And then we also have a very good research consultant program who are always there. A lot of them are always there to help with research, writing, and whatnot. So there's a lot of resources. But according to the survey of Union College students, of course they don't represent the whole class, but we are seeing a massive displacement of traditional human-centered campus resources like these. More than half of the respondents rarely or never physically use these campus services, and we think obviously the most likely explanation is that they cannot compete with the immediacy of AI. Most of them are even though a lot of these resources are there for late night, but you have to make an appointment and be there, and AI is there anytime you need. So this cannot compete with the immediacy of AI. When a student encounters a roadblock like really late at night or cannot schedule an appointment, or these great resources lose out to an instant anonymous AI response. So moving on, we asked for what academic tasks do people use AI tools. So we see it's been really integrated into student practices. A lot of people use it for understanding course content, editing their writing, studying for exams, and brainstorming ideas when they need. And a lot of them also use it for checking grammar or clarity. The interesting thing here is that most of the native speakers who are native English speakers who should have a really good grasp of the language also report to use it the most for understanding their academic work. So this tells us that that language is definitely like, it's not that non-native speakers use it more than native speakers, because we see that both there's like a balance between both of them. Okay. Um, so we also asked them that, what like how does using AI tools affect the quality of their academic work? And overall, the dominant perception across the groups was that AI improves their work quality. So, for example, as we can see, among native English speakers, about half of the students reported that it improves their work. The perception was even stronger among advanced speakers, and 83% of the people reported quality improvement. But again, however, a lot of the people viewed AI as like having did not having a positive impact. Among native speakers, about one quarter felt that AI had no noticeable effect, and only a small percentage believed that it lowered the quality of their work. And negative perceptions were like not very common. And almost no students in these groups reported that AI reduces quality, which may suggest that some students experience AI as particularly useful for supporting their academic work. So then there's always a question of ethics. A lot of the professors at Union did not allow students to use AI, and it's like strictly written in the syllabus that using AI is not permitted. So despite and like students know this, and the main reason for that the professors do this is obviously because AI is reducing your critical thinking. But most of the participants said that despite knowing that AI might dull the critical thinking, they did not feel that they're breaking the rules. There is a high level of ethical confidence, which basically means that students believe they know they believe they know that line between acceptable assistance and like outright cheating. However, the fact that nearly 40 native speakers did not feel confident indicates that there is a lingering gray area where university policies might not be communicated as effectively as it should be. Yep. So for the qualitative results, which were really interesting, we found that many participants had concerns about how AI might affect their learning, especially in terms of critical thinking, over reliance, and weaken independent learning skills. Some also raised concerns about academic integrity and the ethical use of AI. But at the same time, many participants described AI as to be really helpful and really like a really good academic support. They mainly used it to explain they mainly use it to explain difficult concepts, brainstorm ideas, generate study materials, and basically improve their understanding of the coursework. Yep.
Okay, so what were our takeaways here? How are we going to be able to apply this to our practice in the library or potentially share it on campus? One of the key things that we learned is that students are not universally fans of AI. A lot of the open-ended questions that were answered by students said, I actually hate AI, or it's ruining my life and taking up all of our water, or I'm mad that I didn't have an option to just say I never use AI ever in your survey. And that was really interesting to us because I don't think anyone actually is never using AI. They may just not know where they're encountering it in the world around them. So another takeaway is when students use AI, they use it as an academic support more than a cheating tool, at least in the self-reported survey. They did not really have any incentive to lie here. It was completely anonymous, but that doesn't mean that they weren't maybe not being truthful with themselves. But that said, very few students said that they have AI completely write papers. They really reported using it as something to synthesize material, practice questions, or maybe generate keywords, things like that. Another takeaway that I found especially troublesome is that students are worried. They want to protect critical thinking and human-derived creative ideas. And so it can be really difficult to walk that balance, especially when you have this very easy, very quick, and very available tool at your disposal. And so you use it in the moment. It's like, having a toddler choose to eat candy over healthy foods that will eventually help them out to become big and strong. So, what does this mean for libraries? I mean, that's really what this whole conference is about. So I don't want to repeat the many, many things you've heard over the past few days. But at Union College, what this has meant for me and my colleagues is that our disciplinary partners are worried about their class, right? They're worried about how students are working for the assignments they're producing. But there aren't a lot of people talking about what assignments or what AI means in a macro way. And our university doesn't have an AI policy right now. And so students are going from class to class and getting a different set of rules in every single class. And so as a result, it can be really confusing about what the ethical use is. Also, a lot of our faculty don't understand where students might be encountering AI. For instance, Primo adding an AI search option shocked and scared a number of our faculty members who we've talked to about it. I think that librarians can enlighten and enhance the knowledge of what AI tools mean in the broader context. We're acting as both a help to faculty and a help to students, and we're seeing assignments from a spectrum of areas on campus. And so we can say, like, students might be able to use AI in this class for these reasons. But in this class, it doesn't make sense. But you should tell them exactly how and where and what it means when you say how they can use it and give them explanations as to why. I'd like to call the absolutely no AI stance in my class abstinence only AI education. And that's because we are telling students just no without explaining the reasons behind why that no is existing. And I think you can really get students onto your side by explaining the reasons behind your policies. Language learners use AI in unexpected ways. I hadn't considered the idea of immediate translation as a potential AI use case. Librarians can be advocates for surprising and alternative uses. So, here's what I tell students they can use AI for. I try to give students like what is acceptable before I head into what's not. So I say students can use AI in my classes to understand work and readings better. I'm okay with this. I explain what an abstract is, and I ask them to compare what AI is saying about the paper to their own interpretation and be critical evaluators of that information. I love the use of AI as a study buddy. My stepson got through business school making pretend quizzes for himself in AI. And I thought that was creative and interesting, and also might be displacing some of what one might consider like rote or extra work of overworked faculty. I like the idea of creating an equal playing field as a language learner. Can you get materials that might not be in the language that you best process information into that language? I talk about how I'm not an expert in every field, and I will use AI to generate keywords for searches. And I do have students see what AI puts out in a field that they do have a lot of understanding in, so that they can understand the limitations of the tool in doing that before they begin using it for something where they don't have a background. To understand terminology, I'll use it for that. I think that's completely reasonable. To understand gaps in the field, this is a little bit more nuanced. I don't want you doing an AI search and being like, okay, there's nothing on this on the internet. AI can't do that. AI can't get behind paywalls in a lot of instances. It can't read papers that aren't accessible to it. So maybe you begin by seeing what AI doesn't find and then do your own search in the kind of space between what it's putting out. Crafting a research question, I will I'll put research questions into AI and see if it can improve them. And then what I tend to say is you have to have a human in the loop. I don't ever end at AI. I begin there. Maybe I include AI in the process, and then I end with my own ideas. And then to develop search strategies, keywords, and queries, I realize I'm repeating myself. I got excited when writing this. All right, so these are some of the best practices that I talk about when I do AI literacy sessions for students. I tend to evaluate how students believe they use AI currently. A lot of them, again, will self-report that they don't use it. And then I explain that their spell checker is AI and they, you know, I try to share places where students will encounter AI in the research process. I'll point out the AI overview in Google. I'll talk about the ways that AI might be generating ideas for where to search in Scholar or even in Web of Science, where you get that sort of like research rabbit web that is automatically generated. I ask students how they determine if information is high quality online. One of the things that I'm finding is that often when students come to higher education, they have a very limited understanding of evaluating resources. And so often when I ask this question, I get, oh, .com, .gov, or .edu. Or very, very rote sort of like systems of understanding if information is high quality. And so then I'll go to the sources of the AI material and say, would you use Reddit to search for this? That's where it's getting this information. What does that mean to you? And I try to sort of stealth lateral read with them and give them ways that I, as evaluate, I'm going to call myself an evaluation expert. I don't think anybody really is, but in this moment, let's say that would work to evaluate information and try to encourage them to use those practices. Do they feel like they're actually able to apply the skills that they use to evaluate information in AI? Is your AI tool telling you where the information is coming from? Is your search in AI reproducible? And if it's not, would you still use that tool? And then I tend to ask students if they know how AI tools work. The idea of tokenization or predicting text rather than actually searching is just like shocking to them. They do not understand how the AI is working overwhelmingly. Even my CS students will sometimes give me incorrect answers about how the AI tool is producing information. And then I like to try to make clear how the AI tool is locating or creating information so that now, after going through this lesson, I want them to make the choice whether AI is actually worth the trouble or not. Things I tell them to be aware of, AI tools have inherent biases. You have to verify their content and read skeptically. Who created the AI tools? Who is the dominant voice? Do we think that the technology companies who are for profit overwhelmingly might have a bias in putting out information? I talk about their limited resource pool. Often students don't know about OpenAlex and Semantic Scholar and the places where AI tools are pulling information from. Even our faculty don't know that perhaps the last time this information was scraped was several years ago, and so new research might not be available within the AI tool. So the idea of searching for your research there is automatically starting on the back foot. And then the idea of plagiarism. If they're using Reddit without citing it, for instance, to get information, they're plagiarizing somebody's independent thought. Often students understand their own plagiarism, but not the idea that a tool could plagiarize. All right. And we did it in half an hour, so we have plenty of time for questions. I'd love to hear, did anything surprise you? What have you got for us?
Yeah, so if you'd like to unmute and ask a question, feel free to like raise a hand. We do have a couple of questions that came in the Q&A. So the first one that came in was, did you get a good sense of what students mean by brainstorming? And I'm just curious, extending that to defining various things in the survey. I think And so this person says, in my experience, their interpretation of that term, brainstorming, varies a lot.
Um, Okay, I can go ahead and answer this. So from the idea that we got in the open-ended questions, that for them brainstorming was just like, if there's, let's say, an assignment that they have, they don't fully understand it, or what the assignment is asking of them, so they would put the thing in AI, the question or the assignment, and then they're going to ask, hey, so how to get a head start on this, what is this assignment saying? Because sometimes in like classes, especially for people whose English is not the first language for them, it's hard to sometimes follow along, because the assignments can be dense, and they can be demanding. So I think that's exactly, I'm not exactly, but I think, according to me, I think that's what they mean when they say brainstorming. Just exchanging ideas, just like how you would do when you're doing it with a person, sort of talk and like exchange ideas. They're just doing that with AI.
Okay.
This was
Um,
the benefit of doing this work with an undergraduate student at the time. And yes, Shreya is exceptional, but she could say, like, okay, I probably would use AI for this, and here's why.
Hmm.
Um, we
Could
have
you
another question about when using AI to translate material to another language, what's the accuracy? I only speak one language well, so I don't know. I'm gonna look at Shreya.
um well, as someone who speaks 4 languages, I just
Yeah.
think, I think it's like, I know the language, so it's like sort of I can sort of say that, oh well, yes, this is not translating it properly. But again, that's another big issue. I feel that you never know if it's translating it to the correct language if you don't know both languages. So that is one issue. And But I would say, at most of the times, if the words are not very complicated or very niche, I would say that AI usually gets it. If it's like something normal, such as what are you doing? Like, I think it's gonna get that. But then if you add in some complicated words, grammar and vocabulary, it basically expand the vocabulary. I do think it's good to verify it.
Okay. How big was the sample pool? 154 or so, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but actually on our campus, which only has 2,500 students, it was a very good,
It was a
robust
lot.
response.
Good group. Yep.
So this one's probably for me. How are you implementing AI, teaching how AI works in one-shot lessons? This is such a challenge, guys, right? Like maybe you get an hour to work with students and now you have to do how to use your databases, what AI is, how to search the web, sell your firstborn son, all of it. And so the way that I tend to do it is like a quick and dirty, what are the ways that AI works and where you're encountering it? And so I tend to say, like, okay, I'm going to do my search in Google and I'll show the Google AI response and I will explain where that information is coming from. Another way that I kind of get it into the lesson is I'll do a pre-question for students in Mentimeter of where do you search. And when they say that they search for AI, usually they say one of 3 places: Google, AI, JSTOR. If they learned about JSTOR in high school, they almost never say Primo subject specific databases. And so I'll explain the reasons why or why not to search in those places, with a highlight on AI having kind of a very limited scope. I hope that answers it. All right, so student choices for the survey: never, sometimes, rarely, often, in that order. What's the difference between sometimes and rarely? And would it come between rarely and often in terms of frequency? Oh man. What is the
Um,
difference between sometimes and rarely?
I think when we were discussing it, I think when I say sometimes, I mean, like frequently, like, you're using it, like, it's a daily part of you using it. Like it falls into one of your academic habits. Like, you get an assignment, you don't understand it, you use AI. Rarely, basically, I mean, it's like, unless like dire circumstances, you do not use it. You either go to a librarian, you go to your professor, and sometimes I accounted it to just be like, I would not like the student would not go to a professor or a librarian. They would just ask AI. Yep.
That is, so I see it like often as I use AI pretty much when I get an assignment. I see sometimes as when I'm struggling, I might go to it, and I see rarely as
Yep.
I try not to use it, but occasionally I do. I think there were a few raised hands too. Um, oh, this is interesting. Putting copyrighted text into AI and translating it is a copyright issue to be aware of. This is the This is the challenge, right? I feel like students would never get to that nuance. And I don't know that we as librarians even have the space or the time to go into actually, this is taking an author's work and putting it into a tool where they didn't give consent for it.
Mm.
A
There are
couple
a
more
couple more
questions.
questions, yeah, in the Q&A.
Yeah. Okay, does your institution have a license for a specific LLM? Yes, we do. We have Gemini. This took us a very long time to get to, but the reason that our institution chose Gemini was because we were able to make a deal that all of our information stays within the campus and doesn't go out elsewhere when using Gemini. I would say our campus is on the wary to slow adoption side of AI use. Did you get any data on the models used by students? I don't think we didn't ask specifically. I think we were hoping that they were into Gemini because that was the one that was given the okay. But that would be an interesting follow-up. Do you have any idea how many students normally tend to fact check AI results against other non-AI sources? That wasn't a part of our study, but it is something I tend to ask in person, like, do you follow up? And I'm usually a little disappointed at the answer. I don't think that our students are interrogating resources as much as I would hope they were in an environment where they were fully information literate. What do you think, Shreya?
Sorry.
Do you think our students are fact checking the AI
Um,
results?
That's actually very hard to say. Like I just feel they say that they do, but I'm sure they don't because like most of them, because based on the survey results, like a lot of them did not even know, like as you said, that they're using AI, right? Like like even right now, if you type something in Google, you get an overview. So you might be like AI overview, right? So you might be saying that, oh yeah, this is this, but then you actually don't know it's AI. So I think no, increasing the literacy among these tools is important. And I think students should also sort of like, be aware like about what is AI and what is not AI. Yep.
Did we find a difference in what students use AI for in relation to their area of study and major? Um, Anecdotally, I have found that students in the humanities are much more wary, are much more like, oh, like that is stealing the ideas of the world. And students in our STEM majors are more used to using a tool for computation and generation of information. But I'll hand it off to Shreya too.
Um, like I think a lot of the open-ended answers, like we did not ask them what their major was. So a lot of them said that like because like since we are a liberal arts curriculum, so a lot we have to take even if we're STEM majors. I was a STEM and I was a neuroscience and a political science double major. So I had to like take classes in both the departments, and like I had to do my general education requirements. So it doesn't matter what major you are, you would have to like take a writing class, like basically you have to take classes from the liberal arts curriculum. And a lot of them said that they tend to use AI for, understanding a problem set, understanding a formula. And then again, there was another bunch of people who said they barely use it for that, but they use it to understand, to understand reading, to understand sort of what a particular author is conveying, to understand a political science article. So I would say it like varies. And since we have to take classes in we have to have a well-rounded education in the curriculum. I would say I don't think a major plays like a difference. It's like more importantly what the class is. Yep.
Oh, I like this idea from Sarah in the chat about changing some of the language to talk about intentional or known use of AI. I do think that we really need to do a lot of AI literacy education, both for our faculty and for our students, in order to better understand where they're encountering AI. We've done a few sessions as librarians for our faculty through what we call the Templeton Institute on campus. It's sort of like a idea sharing STEM and humanities. We're hippies here at Union. But what we've done is explain to them where they're finding AI in lots of different places that they might not expect. All right, we have another question here. When using AI to understand informations and readings, how do you think algorithmic bias impacts the way that AI presents or synthesizes information? That's a big question, and I don't know that I am the person to answer it. I think that one of the key algorithmic biases of AI is for open source materials because AI is able to access those materials. And so as a result, I feel that information from well-resourced authors, big institutions, the sciences especially, is much more likely to be available in AI than some of the newer researchers' newer ideas. A local institution actually did a study of citations of students who had submitted for their research award, and significantly more of the citations they were using were open source citations, were not things that were behind the paywall of their of Primo for their institution. And one might infer from that that they're using AI to find citations. We don't know for sure, but they certainly aren't necessarily using our library databases to find them. They're choosing sources that are just open.
And I think that's a really bad idea to find citations using ChatGPT or Gemini, because
Yes.
sometimes it's just gonna make up citations that do not exist. So even if someone does it, the strong recommendation is to sort of like verify if the paper actually exists, because they be making up their own citations and like no one has written that paper or ever even heard of it. So yeah.
We are rounding out here in the last 3 minutes. Are there any final thoughts or questions? Oh gosh, yes. So Andy says, I want to verify if citations are not valid. Just like quick hand raise here, how many of you have had a faculty member ask you for a source that is not a real source?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I just feel good to be in good company here. I have had to tell my lovely faculty many times, I'm sorry, but that does not exist.
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, yes.
Most libraries encourage students to use AI to be transparent about their use. Are your faculty who do use AI for creating assignments or any tasks acknowledge that their use of AI as a model to their students?
This is a
Like,
real point of contention for our students. I would say a lot of our faculty do not acknowledge their use of AI necessarily in their creation of assignments. I try to be very clear about the way I've used AI if I have used it, especially like even in my personal life, like, hey, we're going to France and AI planned our trip. Now you know, so you can decide if this is high quality information or not. I like it.
a lot of the faculty, like, because I've been to because I was also part of the honor council, and then as a part of the honor council, we had to go to the freshman inquiry classes and sort of, tell them what the honor council does, and like, especially with the rise of AI, like we had new rules for that too. And most of the classes I went to, the faculty were like, no, absolutely no using AI. Go to the library or come to me. So like as a student, I assumed that they would not use AI to create their assignments. So, and I think many of the undergrads have the same assumption that, if you're so staunchly against us using AI, not that it stops them, but I think they think that, yeah, faculty doesn't use AI while creating their assignments. And to be really honest, a lot of the classes are the same. So they might as well be like sort of reusing their assignments from time to time. Just a, assumption. I don't think, yeah.
So one could call that self-plagiarism.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right. Well, we've reached time. So thank you again, Jenna and Shreya, for your presentation. It was great.
Thank you, Heidi. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.